Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this fourth day of January. Good to be back on. You may be able to hear I've been under the weather the last 3 days, and that's really an understatement. But listen, feel better today, not 100%. I may have to take a break, and we're really congested, blow my nose or something. You'll know what the issue is, okay? A lot I want to talk about tonight, obviously, college football playoff. Best I've ever seen, both games. Also, we'll talk about the NFL, give you my NFL Power 5. Good scope, bad scope, where I was right and wrong on these particular games coming in. And, of course, just the season in general. So stand by. We'll go ahead and take I'm not going to say first and only break. We're going to take a break, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Okay, Pickles, good to see you. Thank you. Okay, now, this college football playoff, like I said, it was the best year ever for the playoff. Alabama, Michigan, start off there. Neither team really, air quote, dominated the game, per se. I just thought that a lot of nerves on both sides of the ball. You can kind of feel it in the atmosphere. I mean, first play of the game, Christian McCaffrey throws an interception, but the replay shows the defensive back stepped out of bounds and came back in, got the pick. He can't do that. I didn't know that, but we know now, right? No one's half the battle. So, I thought there were nerves, again, on both sides. But I'll say this. Alabama made me think why Nick Saban that order's a strong word, right? Did not put Jalen Moreau under center at some point in the game, Pickles, right? I mean, you got low snaps, the ball's going past him. The same thing happened in the Auburn game. It almost cost them in the Auburn game, and they continue to keep him in. I mean, what do you change centers? You can't change quarterbacks. Just put Moreau under center. I just don't understand what the school of thought of that was. That was one of my bigger observations here. But that being said, listen, Alabama, you had a 7-point lead with 4 minutes to go. All right. You got essentially that's two big stops there. Okay. You get stop, they punt it to you. Maybe you make a first down or two, and then you kick it back to them. You get the next stop, you're done. I mean, you're going to move on. 2013, you're playing for a national championship. You're playing for a national championship on Monday, Carlos. Okay? So, of course they didn't, and ultimately that's what cost them. If this were a fight and I didn't know the score, if I was just watching the up and down the field part of the game, and I were judging on points, I would probably give Michigan the edge. I will probably give Michigan the edge. And of course, they end up winning the game. I did think, looking back on this after a few days of thinking about it, that Bill O'Brien comment by Jalen Moreau, he probably should have held that in, because now I felt like he was probably pressing a little too much in this game at times. That comment about Monroe, Bill O'Brien, when he was here, said I couldn't make it as a quarterback, and now he's getting the last. Well, you won the SEC championship. You go to Alabama to win national championships. Nick Saban's won 6 with Alabama, 7 total. He's young. What's he, 21, 22 years old? He's going to come back next year. They may very well win it next year, okay? But I just get a sense that these days where Alabama's is stacking players on top of players, and maybe even to Georgia, those days are over with. You're going to have to coach it just like the NFL with the transfer portal, with the NIL. I mean, it's about field position, defense, quarterback play, halftime adjustments. I mean, if you're honest about this thing, and I had a guest that was going to come in yesterday, but I wasn't quite ready to do the show yesterday, so I'm going to try to get my guy, Ken Norris, Ken, if you're watching, to come back on next week. Still wasn't quite up to par here. But let's just face the truth. This was one of the least talented, air quote, production Alabama teams since his first. Forget about the first year. That's Saban breaking everybody in. But this is one of the least productive teams since then. Again, down at halftime to Texas A&M, not to mention the 4th and goal on the Auburn game, down at halftime to Tennessee. This is a very down at halftime to Texas, both Texas teams, right? Of course, they ultimately lost that game in the regular season. So it was one of his best coaching jobs as a whole. But this team would have been a great reach, I thought, because a lot of times these things happen. It happens in the Super Bowl all the time, where you have a Super Bowl MVP, and you're like, who the heck is it? Some guy that won the Super Bowl MVP back in 2002 with Tampa, I'd never heard of the guy. He had like 4 interceptions against Rich Gannon, and then, of course, you know what happened. The Bucs ended up winning that Super Bowl. I thought because of the 5-star players that have been brought in, somebody would just rise up above and win this game for Alabama. I just seen it. I knew it because I did follow them. They didn't lose that many transfers, but it just did not happen, you know. But on the flip side, you got everybody back from last season coming back to Michigan. Remember Blake Corum got hurt. I'm talking about Michigan now. Going back to last year in the Ohio State game, he could. That's their running back. He could have went to the NFL. He decides to come back. And I did show a replay. I don't know if my friend at work now, my friend Ryan at work, he said he loved that interview with Al Borges, his second time around, coming back on the program here. But hey, listen, that team only lost their center. So they had 21 of 22 starters back. And listen, this team did not have a head coach for 6 games. All right. And they're fighting their rear ends off for Jim Harbaugh. He's got the coaches coached up. So, yeah, it's amazing feat. Once you think about it, he's suspended for 6 games, not to mention the distraction, even while he's there, of these 2 different incidents, you know, the Spygate stuff and then the crap earlier in the season going all the way back to the COVID year. It was a bunch of nonsense anyways. He was just trying to cut some corners, per se. And so it's a well of a job by Jim Harbaugh, you know. It is an absolute well of a job by Jim Harbaugh. I'm not sure who I'm going to pick to win the national championship, but I'll say this. I'm leaning Washington. Okay. I was right about Washington. By the way, so folks, as I said, I want to say last week when I was talking about it with you, Carlos, on this Washington-Texas game, I said, that's too late, man. Excuse me, folks. I said, that is too late to put a football game on. It's New Year's Day night. A lot of people still go back to work tomorrow. which was, January 2nd. This game is coming on at 7:45 Eastern, 8:45 Eastern, 7:45 Central. So I started feeling under the weather about middle of the night. Went to bed really early. Did not watch hardly any of that game. So I wake up, I got a headache and I'm congested, right? And I'm looking at my phone. And Washington's up, and I'm like, man, it's 11:30. It's like the middle of the third quarter. I'm thinking, okay, so I'm refreshing my phone. This score's got to win final, right? And then, of course, I'm still kind of hanging around them up, not really feeling good at all. And I'm like, let me just turn the freaking TV on. And this thing didn't end till midnight. And, of course, Washington lead most of the game in the second half. Got a little conservative to prevented defense and all that stuff. But you could see that this team, as I said, very physical. Now, Dylan Johnson got hurt at the end. We don't know. That's the running back for Washington. How bad that's what really saved Texas. I mean, make it real interesting when it came down to that last throw here. But Dylan Johnson getting hurt here. But you look at like Michael Penix, and I've been talking about this guy for weeks now, following Penix. This is the difference in player. Now, remember, Quinn Ewers was the number one player in the country when he was recruited. I mean, he's one of the biggest NIL deals out there, Quinn Ewers. And so here's Quinn Ewers' stats. 1 touchdown, 318 yards, 72.1. Then you flip over to Michael Penix. 430 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 97.7. And a lot of those throws were Dan Marino-like, how did he make that throw type of throw as advertised, okay? So you could tell the difference there in players. And they do have Rome Odunze. I think I said, 6 for 125, 5 for 122. Jalen Polk, he's going to be really good. And I think Westover. So, possibly 3 draft picks. We know Odunze's definitely, not unless he runs a terrible 40, which I doubt it, he will. These are first-round picks. It depends on how high. Again, what's his 40, what's his background, all that stuff. But he looks really good. And a lot of people said, this guy, I'm starting to hear this. I said it the other day. This guy kind of reminds me of Joe Burrow. Yes, he does. His stats wasn't as good as Burrow's. Now, Burrow had good receivers also in college. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Go figure, right? But these are very physical teams. Again, they got a little complacent there at the end, but this was pretty much a wire-to-wire. Washington over Texas. This is going to be a great national championship. But back to Michael Penix, okay? Listen, I'm out of Nashville, okay? And I'm serious right here. Listen, I understand about Michael Penix. I understand he's had shoulder injury in the past, 2 ACLs. This is all when he was at Indiana. It was like a blessing in disguise for this guy because he is so pocket aware. He knows, he's like he's got eyes in it. He can feel the pass rush. He knows exactly how long to hang on to the ball before he gets rid of it. Now, he's been clean, straight up, no injuries the last 2 years at Washington. He's got the right system around him, and he's learned the hard way. Sometimes you got to get rid of it. Don't try to do too much with your legs. You're going to get injured. I'm saying all that because he's probably going to drop because of those injuries in the past. 2 ACLs, shoulder injury, you name it, before he went to Washington. But I'm out of Nashville, and I can see if you're a Ran Carthon, Mike Vrabel, and the Titans, say, for instance, the Titans pick 7th. We don't know how this is going to play out because we got one more game left in NFL. And the Falcons pick 10th. So we're on the clock. if I'm Tennessee, the clock is ticking, and I call and Arthur Smith. Again, we're going to find out a lot Monday, right? Black Monday coming up. Arthur Smith, call him up, call their executives or whatever, put them little, like on draft day, right? Like got the little conference call. Said, listen, guys, do you want Will Levis for a second-round pick? Got a strong arm. We're on the clock here. Do you want Will Levis? You can keep your 10th pick. You know they're going to get a quarterback. You know Atlanta's going. They're not going to go with. Now, obviously, this is assuming that they don't get Russell Wilson or somebody. Okay, but if things are the way they are now, for example, so you trade Levis, which I think he has no pocket awareness. He lacks maturity, and he's like 24, 25 years old. But he does have a lot of talent. Could you see Will Levis, a second-year player, kind of reminds me of a maybe this is a Brett Favre, right? Second-round pick traded to the Green Bay Packers after a year. Maybe this is something like that. So you kind of sell it like that. So you ship off Levis, and then that 7th pick, bang, pick. Go ahead and get a Michael Penix Jr. And that's, there's a lot of depth at tackle. Maybe you go other places to get that left tackle taken care of. Of course, all this is discussed in March, not in April. Of course, you can't put the cart before the horse. I know Tennessee needs a left tackle, but I do think Michael Penix is that good a player. He's just very accurate. He's poised. Nothing really rattles him. He's been through a lot already. A lot of your best quarterbacks have grinded and worked. 6th-round pick backups. They not all of them is All-American, best overall player out of. Not everybody's Peyton Manning, where you kind of just you got the football family behind you and you're a mediocre rise to the top. Remember, Josh Allen went to Wyoming. Ben Roethlisberger, Miami, Hurricanes, Miami, Ohio. Dan Marino, when he go to Pittsburgh, John Elway, Stanford. None of these guys went to Alabama or Florida. No, they didn't go to Ohio State. No. So they had some ebbs and flows. Elway never went to a bowl game. John Bleepin Elway never went to a bowl game. One of the most talented NFL quarterbacks of all time. So a lot of these guys. So could you imagine a Will Levis with a Kyle Pitts, a Drake London, Bijan Robertson? This totally different situation than Tennessee. They have a much better offensive line. That Matthews, he's one of the Matthews family members. He's kin to Bruce Matthews. I think that's his uncle. And Clay Matthews may be a cousin or something like that. So they're okay up line. Their front line's pretty good. Levis may fit in really good there. Tennessee gets their 2nd-round pick. They'll have 2 2nd-round picks, address other needs in that situation. But that's what I would do. I don't know if somebody's going to take that chance on Penix. But that being said, we all know, but the owners, they watch these national champions. This used to happen in college basketball all the time, where the owners, they'll get all hyped up and they'll see a player make a run in the Final Four, and then they're like, wait a minute. You have this guy, he averaged 12 points. He averaged 12 and 5 during the regular season. He averaged 12 and 5 for 2 years. That's it, for example. 2 years in this college game. And he averaged 25 points in the Final Four run against the tournament teams. So they're like, okay, well, he's always going to do that. The light bulbs went off. No, it's probably more about individual matchups. So you end up drafting this guy really high in the lottery pick, and he's really like a 15 to 20 pick talent. You drafted him in top 5 because the owner sees him in the big game. So that could happen with Michael Penix. That could very well happen where he does go high, But we shall see. What does Pickle say? Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, you got your Minnesotas. He would be a good fit. Some people saying McCarthy. I mean, I just think he's way better than McCarthy, Quinn Ewers. He's one of those. I think he's going to be better than Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is a Lincoln Riley guy. You know, maybe Caleb Williams turns out to be a great player, and I'm wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think so. Let's see. Carlos says, at the end of the day, they didn't convert for Alabama. Yeah, and Nick Saban did say that. He listen, and that going back to that game, one last thought about that. It's just, I mean, the run up the middle, your whole season is going to be a quarterback sneak on like the 5-yard line where it looks like he had no shot to get that touchdown. That felt like a white flag moment for me, you know? At least let him run around and try to make a play where you got a run pass option type of deal. But that's a much better secondary, no passing touchdown. So Moreau, he's still got some development to do. Now, he will be back at Alabama. Maybe they'll win the championship next year. Maybe they'll win next year. So anyways. And, of course, maybe Seattle makes a move. So could something like that happen to Pete Carroll, who they've got a boatload of talent up there in Seattle? They definitely don't want to roll with Geno Smith. He's a he's a Band-Aid guy anyways. Would they make a move? Plus, this guy played in Seattle, University of Washington in Seattle. That would people say, well, you know, maybe that's a Kenny Pickett thing. No, the guy's just a great player, you know. He's developed into a great player. I hope the best for him. He's a guy that I'm going to be watching. You just hate to see him go to a bad offensive line with a defensive-minded head coach. And I guess that would be Tennessee, right? But a guy like that, you want to get him protection. You want to get the best coaching around him because the sky's the limit with him, I think. I think those throws, those are big game throws. Those are NFL throws right there that he was making in that game. People say great receivers. Well, that's only so much. The receiver can only do so much. Dropping a teardrop in perfect coverage, that's just a great pass, man. Dan Marino said that, right, Pickles? You can't defend a perfect pass. So anyways, like I said, best I've ever seen. And of course, you look at Georgia thumping at Florida State like that. So it really showed you, hey, listen, the committee they made the right moves, right? I mean, you had an overtime game, and you had one to come down to the last second at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 a.m. Central. You know, there's no excuse for having a game on that late. You know, only reason I've seen it live because I was under the weather. I couldn't sleep. Might as well watch it. All righty then. Did I have any other? No, let me just go to good scope, bad scope here. Where I was right about some things and where I may have fumbled away. Been wrong about a lot. Okay, now, good scope. I was telling you all last week and the week before that and the week before that, don't get too hyped up on Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles turning this thing into a monster down in Tampa, you know, when they're like 8-7. They're one game above 500, and Baker Mayfield is going to be the great. Yeah, well, they lost again at home. Well, they lost at home to the Saints by 10 points, 2 interceptions by Mayfield. And again, I don't know if maybe I did mention this to you all, but if not, I'll mention it now, that Mayfield, I've been watching him even before he got his injuries in Cleveland, consistently inconsistent, very Blake Bortles-like, okay? From the Jacksonville Jaguars, had a really Leonard Fournette, really good team there for a very short period of time. 2017, right? Go to the AFC Championship game. Beat an unprepared Pittsburgh team at Pittsburgh. knowing they beat Pittsburgh earlier that season, that's another game Tomlin didn't have his team ready. So they blow a big lead in the blow a good-sized lead in the AFC Championship game, and Brady beats them in the AFC Championship game. Then the next year, 2018, Bortles gets found out for what he is, consistently inconsistent player. And eventually, Mr. What's his name, Khan, just blew up the whole thing. Just blew the whole thing up. Fired Tom Coughlin, got rid of Bortles. You know, they lost all the games, got Trevor Lawrence, got Urban Meyer. That didn't work, you know. So far, so good, folks. I tell you, I was not sure how good I was going to feel today doing the program, but knock on some wood here. So I'm not giving him no $30 or $40 million back. Yeah, he's about a backup, man. He's good. And backup, what do backups do? They're good for 3 or 4 games. That's usually what you need them for, right? Why did Fitzmagic last so long, you know? Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because he had some magic tricks for about 3 or 4 games. Sometimes your best player gets hurt. Your quarterback gets hurt in training camp. You got a Ryan Fitzpatrick there. Remember that game? He had a crazy game. I think he was playing with Tampa or somebody. And he lit up New Orleans. Had like 4 touchdowns. Had a great – it's week 1, right? And this guy had gotten – I want to say he got big contracts twice, going all the way back to his Buffalo days. And he fools people all the time. I think because he went to Harvard or something. Got this huge beard. Professor Miss Fitzmagic, right? And then, like, 2 or 3 games in, 4 or 5, and then like grade 5, you're like, man, what happened, man? You play a mediocre team, and then you got 1 interception. You've been sacked 4 or 5 times, and you're down by 21 points. That's because it's all ran out, That's what he is. Mayfield is that guy, That being said, I mean, they may win. They may still win the division. It's all up for grabs coming up here in week 18. But this is the worst division in football. They will be 9-8 at best. They're 8-8, But he's got Chris Godwin there. Evans is probably a Hall of Famer at this point. I mean, Michael Evans, man, I thought he was going to be a great player. I did not think he's going to be this great a player. He's very underrated. One of the best receivers in the game. Is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. But, I mean, how long is Evans going to play? Todd Bowles, defensive guy. He might have bought another year because he made the playoffs. But if I'm Tampa, I'm not. I say, Baker, you want $6 or $7 million and you want to compete with our rookie we're going to bring in? Sure. It's not going to be Cal Trash. Probably, Now, if one of these other quarterbacks fall, a Bo Nix or something, maybe do that. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't think they know because they don't know how far Tampa could get in the playoffs if they make it. Tampa's really kind of a hard team to get a feel for from 1 minute to the next. But I feel like I was right. Baker, consistently inconsistent, never going to be a star. Be lucky to get a starter in this league, and he should be grateful for that. Now, it's all on him whether he wants to get good or not. Okay, bad scope. Thinking Miami would push Baltimore hard. Well, they did score on the first drive. They scored on their first drive in that game, and Baltimore settled down and really put the hammer down on them. So when you start seeing scores like that, that's usually a sign a team's probably going to make it to the Super Bowl. Blowout. I mean, they blew out San Francisco, short week, come back here, and then blew out another. Now, that being said, Bradley Chubb tore his ACL in the game. Jalen Waddle did not play in the game. Tyreek Hill probably playing at 50%. but I thought he may get a garbage touchdown there. But they ran roughshod. Now, here's my only thing about Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's going to sit this week. I get it. 1 seed locked up. In the back of John Harbaugh's mind, he's thinking to himself, man, I hope this don't turn out the way it did back in 19, where Lamar was only his second year in the league. He's definitely developed way more as a passer now versus then. He's got a well of a receiving core. Odell Beckham says it's the best team he's ever played on, and he's probably telling the truth. I think they had, 8 or 9 Pro Bowlers, with Cal Hamilton included, on that team. And so, yeah, they're going to be, I was wrong about that somewhat. I said Baltimore win, didn't think they would win running roughshod like that. Okay, good scope. Now, Cowboys. I said they would regroup at home against this Lions and win. A feisty Lions team. Had a little help from Dan Campbell. Did not get a little. The Cowboys got a little bit of help from Dan Campbell. Okay. First of all, when even Troy Aikman pointed this out, it's 7-3. Cowboys up 7. They're in the red zone. They're on with the 7-yard line. Even Aikman saying, man, he's got to be going. He's going to take the 3 here, ain't he? And of course, no, let's go for it. He has no faith in his back end defense, Dan Campbell. So they went for it. Of course, incomplete pass. Dallas gets the ball back. And then, of course, you go back onto the big controversial Taylor Decker, eligible, ineligible. And Dan Campbell's words, not mine. Dan Campbell says, we tried to confuse the Cowboys. And what you did was you overthought the room and you confused the refs. And that's Dan Campbell's words, all right? So let's not get crazy here. You get the penalty, take the extra point. It's 23 seconds. You don't have enough faith to get one tackle, for a first down. I know Dallas got a great kicker. I know they got a great kicker. But that being said, I thought now Dallas is looking at a 2 seed going back to Dallas. So I was right. They will. They did regroup, and of course they're back in shape here. Okay, Lions will stomp the Cowboys in Detroit. Well, that's the problem, Pickles. If Dallas, which I think they will, if Dallas beats Washington, that game will be played in Dallas because Philadelphia lost. All right, now, and Dallas is running shot. Okay, bad scope. Oh, Kyler Murray playing for a new job. Now, I still may be right about this. Yes, great performance. Kyler Murray. What did he do? See, I thought I had Kyler Murray's stats. I might not have had his stats up here. Yeah, I did. Okay, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 116 rating, and a well of a last drive, and a good showing by James Conner here. Big win on the road at Philadelphia there for Kyler Murray. Now it's looking like maybe you starting to see some mock drafts and stuff coming out because they still got like a top 5 pick, right? They've only got 4 wins. Now you're starting to see mock drafts where maybe they get a Marvin Harrison Jr. or they get one of those tackles and flip Paris Johnson, because I think Jackson, the guy that they got from Ohio State last year, they ended up moving him to right tackle. So do they take one of those tackles? I think with Hollywood Brown's injuries and whatnot, I think they'll probably take a Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's on the board, and maybe they just keep Kyler Murray. Now, that being said, I still could be right about that, but the owner's probably looking at Jonathan Gannon. He's looking at the way Murray, even though it's a short sample size, the way Murray has played in this offense, he's played really well. I have to give it to him. So he very well may stay with Arizona, okay? But I still may be right about that. But it looks like, especially after that win, on the road, early start time, it looks like that they very well could keep Murray. And but then again, you never know. Because the reason why I say that, listen, it's a different general manager and a different head coach. It's a different GM, different head coach that brought in Murray. Remember, that was Cliff Kingsbury and the other guy. Okay. So it's really hard. It's really hard to tell one way or the other. Oh, I'm trying to find my part 2 here. I thought I had a good scope, bad scope part 2, but I might not have, folks. A little bit rusty here. Okay. That's the Power 5. So, listen, Arizona, it's hard to tell with that owner. It's really hard to tell what he's going to do from 1 minute to the next. All right. NFL Power 5, pretty much what you would think it's going to be towards the end here. Of course, I'm going to have to start off here with number 5, I guess, right? Okay. So Cleveland, got them at 5 here. Kevin Stefanski. Now, they're locked in the playoffs, and they've got, 5 Pro Bowlers too, I want to say, the Browns here. Yeah, 5 Pro Bowlers by the Cleveland Browns. It looks like a walk in the park for Baltimore. But if I'm Baltimore, I was like, man, I don't want to play Cleveland in that game. I'm hoping somebody else knocks Cleveland off. I mean, we know we can beat Cleveland. They had Cleveland beat in the game that they lost to Cleveland. But I'll tell you this. The Browns, Joe Flacco, he's already got a ring. He is going to be on house money, folks. That dude is going to be on total house money, no matter $75,000 a game. He's getting little bonuses here and there. 38 years old. I think they'll probably, if it's me, as good as that Jerome Ford is, listen, you always rest your running backs. You always rest your running backs. That not just for the sake of them getting hurt, for competitive advantages. You get a running back off a bye week. I've been playing fantasy since 2007. They're shot out of a cannon, especially those quick Jerome Ford type of guys. So Jerome Ford would be resting Sunday if I'm Kevin Stefanski. They're not playing for anything. The Ravens already locked up the 1 seed. They're going on the road regardless, okay? So, again, best total defense in the NFL this year. I did not think that Jim Schwartz would have this type of year. I knew they'd be better against the run, and they're way better. Last year, they were like 26th. This year, I don't think they're worse than 10th against the run, okay? They're better against the pass. Warning to every other fan of every other team, just because Jim Schwartz is a good defensive coordinator and he has made some changes to his game, that's what he said. And quite frankly, he's right. I've watched him. He does not play as much off man and let teams just run up and down the field on them. They actually got the best pass defense in the league. It does help when you've got a Denzel Ward back there who's playing great. He was one of those Pro Bowlers here. I still don't think Schwartz, who's been a coach twice, 2-time loser at Buffalo and at Detroit here. I would not hire Jim Schwartz as my head coach. Sorry, I'm not going to be mean, but I think he's great at what Dan Quinn, a lot of people want Dan Quinn from Dallas. I'm telling you, the longer he stayed with Atlanta, the worst they got. Remember, Kyle Shanahan leaves. Offense gets a little bit worse. Of course, and then Arthur Blank moved off of Dan Quinn. He's really good where he is. And if I'm one of these owners, well, I know Haslam don't mind spending the money. He gave Deshaun Watson $250 guaranteed. We all know Jerry Jones will spend the money. You want to give these guys $5 million a year to be a coordinator plus? I would, because they're elite. Right now, they're very elite, you know. The coordinator, Spagnuolo, and Kansas City's elite, man, you know. So, anyways, yeah, the Browns at number 5. Now, number 4 here. Let me go back here. Let's see what we got here. Listen, Dallas. Who else in Dallas? Who else in the NFC can beat Dallas? You know, the Rams are playing better. Kyron Williams, he's not going to play. The Rams are already in playoffs. I read that today. And Kyron Williams, he's not going to play this week. He's going to be shot out of cannon next week against somebody. I expect Dallas to beat, although Ron Rivera, probably his last game Sunday, he's going to pull a Lovie Smith, Pickles. He's going to do everything he can to beat the Cowboys. Remember Lovie Smith with the Houston Texans? He knew he was going to get fired. He wanted to make sure Houston won that last game, and they didn't get that number 1 pick, and they didn't. Remember, the Bears got it, right? The Bears got it, but it still worked out great for Houston. They got Stroud in the 2nd pick, and then the 3rd pick, they turned around and got Will Anderson. D'Amico Ryans turned out to be a pretty good hire here. So, that being said, Dallas probably going to be the number 2 seed, okay? And listen, the 49ers, calf strain, Christian McCaffrey, something can happen. Brock Purdy get banged up. Dallas could very well get into the Super Bowl. They could very well get into the Super Bowl, okay? So keep that in mind. I got them in this at number 4. Here, now number 3, listen, Buffalo Bills also, believe it or not, Buffalo Bills out of the playoff spot about a month ago. You know, I'm talking about Sean McDermott, and maybe they lay an egg, and you still got to get rid of Sean McDermott. But right now, I've been saying this narrative about 3 weeks with the Bills. They feel like that team who's went through battles, and when you start to totally write them off like I have, okay, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, remember back in 04, 05, 15-1, Patriots beat them. Then the next year, they fall all the way down to a wild card team, and then they go on that run and win the Super Bowl, okay? 2007, Indianapolis Colts, okay? The 2016, lost Edgerrin James. They got put out by that Pittsburgh team I was just telling you about. 2007, done wrote them off. Peyton's a choke artist. Come in with a rookie running back, Joseph Adai. Go all the way on a run. Great feat comeback there for Peyton Manning against Tom Brady to get to the Super Bowl. They went on to beat the Bears. This could be the Bills here. All right. Like I mentioned last week, the best offensive line, according to statistics and lack of sacks there for Josh Allen. Some of these draft picks have paid off, and they're using James Cook. Now they got to play at a banged up Miami team on Sunday. Who was there? The defensive coordinator for Miami said that. What did he say? He said, Big Fangio said that Josh Allen is John Elway on steroids. But he says, listen, he's not on steroids. And I know your reporters are going to take this out of context. I'm trying to lay him just a really good compliment here. And I thought, yeah, he is to a certain extent. He's always reminded me of Elway. He didn't have that hype Elway did. Because, Wyoming versus Stanford. Stanford's Pac-12, Elway was more refined as a passer, per se. But he's saying, listen, he's right up there with Elway, man, as far as, the ability to run, pass, and make big plays. So they're going to have their hands full Sunday night. Huge game there. Now they could lose it, and then I'll be bashing them again. I'll be taking it out on Sean McDermott. But anyways, Bills remain at 3. Now, of course, San Francisco rebounded last week. Again, so they will rest Christian McCaffrey this week. They'll get the bye week, and then they'll play their divisional game with that calf strain. That's something to monitor with McCaffrey. Now, this Elijah Mitchell's pretty good. He's no McCaffrey. Everybody's like, well, McCaffrey's just, he's indispensable, blah, blah. Now, he's that with the 49ers. Now he's banged up a little bit, but he was banged up with Carolina. So that's an injury to monitor, the calf strain. Now, I mean, I've seen it in basketball where guys are out. It's kind of a nagging injury, but with the proper care, maybe he can come back in the division game. Then again, the way he works out, he probably will come back. It's not the end of the world. They could still get to the Super Bowl. They were my preseason team to get to the Super Bowl. Had them going against Cincinnati. Of course, Burrow got hurt, and that didn't happen. But they're number 2, of course. They bounced back. And again, if McCaffrey's fine and they play the Ravens again in the Super Bowl, and the Ravens are fully healthy, they're fully healthy, I'll probably take 49ers again because they outgained the Ravens. And, of course, the Ravens, and that's beating Miami like that. And like I told you all earlier, Odell Beckham saying that's the best team he played on. I don't think he's trying to be nice to the Ravens. This team would destroy that Rams team because that Rams team didn't have the best offensive line, okay? They had some good schemes. Remember that Rams team that won the Super Bowl? Tennessee went down there and ran all over them, Ran all up. Now, this Rams team, caught them off guard a little bit off their bye week. So, again, that's something. If Lamar gets too caught up and want to showcase his passing stats and everything in that divisional game, if you recall, they had their late bye week. And maybe that's why they're surging right now. He struggled most of the game. Now, it was raining, but still, they should have killed the Rams. He struggled most of the game against the Rams. Okay? And remember the special teams touchdown, they win the game at the end. The Rams outplayed them most of the game. I was very disappointed in that game. That could bite them coming back off that bye week. If they play a red-hot Bills team or somebody like that, and that wouldn't be the Bills. What if Cleveland wins their game, right? And Flacco would love to stick it to the old team here, He would love to stick it to them. So, obviously, it's not very hard. Baltimore, San Francisco, Buffalo, Dallas, Cleveland. Okay, now speaking of Baltimore, nobody's very much talking about their offensive coordinator. Everything is about, say, Flowers, it's Odell Beckham, Rashawn Bateman. Those are 3 former first-round pick wide receivers there. And, of course, you got Lamar Jackson himself there. All right? And I get it. Oh, by the way, and Dalvin Cook signed. Dalvin Cook was cut today. He signed with the Ravens, all right? But Todd Monken, I want to say he's late 40s, early 50s, been in NFL, left the NFL, went to the Georgia Bulldogs, took Stetson Bennett, a walk-on. You say, well, he had a lot of talent. No, that's you still had to have a good quarterback play, all right? There's a lot of first-round. They had a first-round pick he was playing against in Alabama. He beat Alabama. Two-time national championship. But I like the way they schemed up a lot of their plays. Monken may be a head coaching candidate, one and done as an OC. Keep an eye on that name, Todd Monken. I'm out of Nashville. There was a report. Now, Vrabel has debunked it, said it's nonsense. I like it here, yada, yada, yada. But Mike Vrabel said there was a report that he wants out of here in Nashville. All right. And I thought, well, okay, if you want to do that and something happens to Bill Belichick, something's going to probably go down Monday. They call it Black Monday, but it is. It is what it is. So maybe they should call it Red Monday because black is good. Black is good when you're in the stock market, if you're in the black. When you're in the red, when you're in the red, I think about the Saints, man. They're like $85 million over the salary cap. But the stuff with Belichick and Vrabel, if Vrabel wants out and Belichick agrees to mutually part ways, I say, listen, Mr. Kraft, if I may be Adam Strunk, I tell you what, I know you're not going to give us that 3 pick. But you give us a second-round pick, give us 2026, first-round pick, we'll send Mike up there. We'll send him packing. All right? Well, you know you can win with him. He's flexible, young guy. If that's what he wants, that's fine with me. I still have a little faith in Vrabel. They're 2 years removed from Coach of the Year, number 1 seed. I think that they gotta fix that offensive line, But I would definitely trade Vrabel if he wanted to. Trade him to the Patriots and get them picks. Happened with John Gruden. Happened with Herm Edwards, the Jets, to Kansas City, and Todd Monken, Pickles, will be the first guy I'd interview because he's offensive minded, and not a lot of people are talking about the schemes of the plays that he's come up with Jackson, And of course, Pickle says maybe Jared Mayo. This stuff about Vrabel and New England, that has been in the talks for months now. Months. I've ignored it because not a lot of the big reporters are really sounding off on it, And guy asked him how important it is to win or something like that. And some guy named Gentry, if I can find it, I'll play it. But, man, he went off on this guy because winning effing sucks or losing effing sucks. I'm thinking that's good. Well, continue to, build on your offense. And, and by the way, the 49ers got 9 Pro Bowlers, man. They had a good year. Tyreek Hill's house burnt down. Let's see if I can find this thing here. Yeah, the Lakers, there's rumors that the Laker players already want Darwin Ham out. God. See, a lot of this stuff are different topic days. Folks, I got it. I was running late today. And I've been sick all week. Okay, I know that I don't think I can find it. Oh, well. Well, anyways, you guys get the gist of it. So he tells, hey, this effing sucks losing and blah, blah, blah. Listen, the Titans, they have a lot of money, okay? They're going to have arguably the most money in the NFL in cap room next year. I've liked everything I've seen out of Ron Carthon so far. Now, if something does happen to Vrabel on Monday, I think it will. If it happens, I think it'll happen Monday. Carthon has connections to the 49ers. There's a offensive coordinator from Miami, possibly that would be a replacement there. He's 40. I like my guys to be a little bit older than 35. If he's going to be 35, like Billy Solwick down in Houston, who's done a good job, he's got to have some old heads around him to help him with the players. He's got to have some guys, preferably former players or just coaches that are just been around the league for a long, long time. Like Sean McVay, when he first got that job, really young guy. But his grandfather was a general manager, and then I think his dad played college ball quarterback. So he's 2 generations removed. He went out and got Wade Phillips right off the bat, 70-something-year-old Wade Phillips. And they had a really good defense there that year with the Rams. So if that's true. Now, listen, I think that they should try to work this thing out. But for the sake of just being prepared, if that does happen, you want to go offensive minded. That's where the league is. What is it? 14 out of 15 teams that are in the playoffs are offensive minded head coaches. Every Super Bowl appearance, not just the winner, the appearance from 19 till now, last 4 years, all teams are offensive minded. Last one was Belichick, you know? So it's Monday's going to be interesting, okay? And maybe I can bring Mike Richmond back on because I'm pretty sure Rivera's gone. I think he's going to be gone as soon as that Cowboy game's over with, probably around 9 o'clock Eastern Sunday night or maybe 8 o'clock Monday morning, something like that. Maybe so, okay? So that's one I can almost assure you Vera's going to get fired. Other than that, I couldn't tell you for certain because a lot of guys already got fired, you know. Possibly Arthur Smith. You know, reading between the lines the way Arthur Blank, the other author, said, we'll see how it plays out. That's not the most delightful thing to hear per se. You know, I mean, the Raiders already did with McDaniels. I was right about that. You know, Brandon Staley was right about that. Only problem with that, they should. Oh, by the way, and of course, going back to Harbaugh, Harbaugh has signed with he is talking to, and I don't know if he signed with Yee. Last name is Yee. This is Tom Brady's agent. He's an NFL agent guy. To help out with coaching searches and all this stuff. So Harbaugh could leave. There's a report that he might be interested in that Raider job. Hope that's not true. That sounds like a disaster, like nobody's business. He would be a good fit with the Chargers. If him and Kevin Warren can work it out, he'd be a really good fit with the Bears for about 5 years. But, you know, and the Bears surgeon, I don't know if Eberflus is going to get fired now. I was for sure McDermott's going to get fired, you know. Now I'm not sure. I'm just not. And of course, Robert Saleh's 50-50, guys. At first, I thought he was going to be a lock to stay. I know what Woody Johnson said the other day. I've heard that before. And then when the season ends, we decide we'll make a change. I hear it all the time. We go through this every year. You think it's going to be 2 or 3 at 7, you know? Pickle says the Lakers are turning. Yeah, and just nothing about the Lakers. I've been watching that old show, Winning Time, and that I just finished it because like I said, I've been sick, and as soon as I get home, just laying around the last few days, barely making it through work. And I was watching Winning Time, the story about the Lakers in the early '80s, and the backstabbing and all that. And I thought, this is pretty spot on. This is pretty spot on from the way it is now. People trying to get rid of the coach, you know, are trying to get a player traded, you know, interim fighting. I didn't like the way the guy portrayed Magic Johnson. Magic's a little bit smarter than that guy. He was trying to lose a lot of slurs and just, you know, not that educated. And Magic was. But other than that, I think it's very close to the way things are now in pro sports. Pickles talking about that Lakers story. So Pickles thinks Arthur Smith may be toast. It's, you know, and again, Todd Bowles, he might not make it, but there'll be some surprises. It would be some surprises. You know, it could be somebody. Of course, the Belichick one's going to be the big one, and of course, Ron Rivera. Those are two that we know pretty much something's going to happen, something drastic. Maybe they work it out. I mean, you know, Belichick. The Jets play at the Patriots. You know, he's going to pull off all the stops to beat the Jets one more time. Okay, I'll tell you all this, and I'm going to let y'all go. This Browns fan a few years ago, he said, "Listen, I want 4 Cleveland Brown players to be my pallbearer when I die. And people were like, why? So they can let me down one more time. I can't laugh because it make me cough. So have a good night, everybody. Hopefully I'll be back here tomorrow with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez, and we'll pick some of these make or break games that are going to be huge this weekend here on Sport. Hey, Pickles, yeah, you caught that. That was a funny one, wasn't it? Have a good night, everybody.